And now, Solid Signal shows you how to do it. Today we're going to be doing a basic dish aiming using Solid Signal's SatLookLite meter. This is about as easy as it can get. So let's get started. The meter does need to be charged before you start. You can actually bypass the charging procedure if you want to keep it plugged in, but you'd really rather have it on battery while you're working. When you plug it in, it'll boot up and you'll see this. If you don't see this, you're going to need to reseat the battery. It's in the back of the unit. You also must make sure that the dish is plumb and level. This is the most important part of the process, and people tend to skip it. So take a few extra seconds and use a nice large box level. Don't just use a smartphone level. You're also going to want to go to dishpointer.com or to a dish pointing app to try to get basic aiming instructions for the dish. Get all this started before you start aiming the dish with the meter, and you're going to have a much better result later on. When the meter boots up, it will go straight into searching for satellite mode. You'll see this message, use 21 volt for L&B, if you're on a swim dish. If you're not, use the up and down arrows to go to Slimline 101. Here you're seeing what it looks like when it locks on. The most important thing is that Q number. You want that to be in the 80s or 90s. Work on it as hard as you can to try to get that 101 perfect. And then, once you've got everything set, the other satellites should fall into line nicely. Personally, I like to do a rough aim by getting the 101 satellite in position, and then set that tilt and elevation using the dish pointer app to try to lock in the other satellites. Remember, once you've got it roughed into position, make tiny little changes. Even a change of a 32nd of an inch can be hundreds of miles of sky that you're aiming toward or aiming against. Here's where it gets a little more confusing. If you have a Slimline 5 dish, you can then go ahead and see the 119 satellite, and you can continue to adjust tilt and elevation from there. However, if you have a Slimline 3 dish, you cannot see the 119 satellite. If the dish doesn't have a swim, then you can look at the 103 setting and that'll work for you. However, if you're using the most common setup, which is the swim-enabled Slimline 3 dish, then you need to just get the 101 as best you can, set the tilt and elevation, and more than likely, that's going to be all that you need to do for that day. The rest will take care of itself. There shouldn't be a lot of reason to go into the menus because all you're doing is searching for satellites. But if you want to, press the OK button. Pretty much the first thing that I do when I'm using this meter is actually turn the beeping off. I don't care for it, even though it does help some people. Use the down arrow until you reach beeper on off, and then just press OK. It'll go back to searching for satellite, and it'll be mercifully quiet. Another thing people like to do is set their favorites. Here you can actually turn off satellite displays that you're not interested in. This thing's got a ton of them. All the dish satellites, all the international satellites. You don't really need any of them. So scroll down to one that you don't want, press the OK button, and the asterisk that's next to it will disappear. Here you can see I've turned off a lot of them except for the DirecTV ones. All those still have asterisks. When you're done, scroll down to Save and Exit and press OK. Then, scroll up to Satellite Search and press OK again. That'll get you back really where you want to be. Here's a few things that you're going to need to remember. The most important thing that you can do before you start is to get that mast plumb and level. Spend time with it. I know I said this at the beginning, but the more time you spend plumbing and leveling that mast, the better off that you're going to be. Once you've got everything where you need to be, tighten everything up. And that includes laying down sandbags or cinder blocks to make sure the dish doesn't move. That's the last thing that you need in the middle of the day. If this is a swim dish, don't forget the power inserter. Every swim dish does need one, so don't forget about it. And finally, don't go chasing after all those 100 satellite signals. You know, anything over 70 on a sunny day is going to be great for that day. Dialing in a dish using this meter is so easy that the biggest mistake people make is making it more complex than it already is. Get a good aim on the 101, tighten everything down, and if you need to, make tiny little adjustments. And that's how to do it.